Welcome to Nale Yoga. I'm Ruthie Eisenberg, and today I'm so excited to welcome a very special guest to our podcast, Edith B. Kiss. Edith is a holistic therapist, success habit coach. She's a best-selling author, an international speaker, and has a really interesting background. She actually started out as a petroleum engineer and worked in that field for 15 years before transitioning into the world of healing and personal transformation. Edith is trained as a Reiki master. She's a karma yogi, a Shechem healer, and her work focuses on deep trauma healing, breaking free from limiting patterns, and really going beyond the conscious cognitive mind. But beyond her amazing experience and background, what really stands out about Edith is how she's so deeply knowledgeable and intuitive and prolific in the work that she has created. She's created this incredible range of meditations and courses and has a real gift for making complex spiritual and healing concepts accessible. She's a real dynamo with so much wealth of knowledge to share. I could literally listen to her all day. So if you're interested in things like Reiki, karma yoga, ancestral healing, eighth chakra, meditation, and how all of these things relate to Yoga Nidra and healing in altered states of consciousness, then this episode will be interesting for you. So let's roll up our sleeves and get started. Edith, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And let's get started with you sharing about how you got interested in healing practices and what's your backstory.
Yeah, so when I was in my early 20s, I experienced panic attacks, and I was studying engineering. So that was my past back then. And I was traveling. I love traveling. I was traveling in different countries, and I was abroad when I first experienced panic attacks. And I had no idea what's going on with me, what's happening to me. I was very scared. And then when I got back home, I actually was looking for some solutions which wasn't like medical, but more natural. So that's how I got into Reiki healing. That was my first conscious spiritual experience, basically. And then I learned and then after having some sessions, I liked it. And then I was thinking to start learning about it. So I became a Reiki healer, like level 1, level 2 in like a couple of years' time. And I always felt that it was like a hobby, like a sanctuary besides my engineering work. So I kept it like that for like 15 years, that I was going to family constellation therapies. I was going to retreats, but like just for weekends, and making sure that also my family life is much healthier and me is being like managed my conditions, So that's how I felt about it, that it's a good thing. And then later, eventually, before we were actually moving to another country, I decided to do the master levels with the same teacher, before we leave, because I didn't know when we're going to come back. So that's how I became Reiki master. I wasn't like, for 15 years, I wasn't thinking to even become a Reiki master, because I was like, oh, I'm so far from there. I'm so far from there. But then I was like, okay, I have to do it now before we leave. So I did it, and I was so happy about it because it was so powerful. It's really upgraded my how to handle energies and the healing. So I really experienced big breakthroughs with that. And then later, I got into karma yoga healing accidentally. I was just invited to an event to translate. I wasn't even searching for anything particular. And then I was so flabbergasted about the results. I was flabbergasted about the how deep it went, with the transcendental meditation and then the source memory healing. So then that was the one time when I felt like I want to show this to people. I want to show them that how I healed from very like big patterns, like which were returning for like decades, like then I want to show them how I healed and then help them. So that was the time when I decided about it. It was 2018. And for another year, I kept my engineering work as well. And then later it turned more into the coaching and healing.
Wow, thank you for sharing. And such a big gift that you to your family by working on your own healing. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm really curious. You're saying that, that you've evolved in your healing and you've tried the Reiki and the family constellations, and then the karma yoga healing. So I'm curious how the family constellation work, how that integrated together with the Reiki work. What was your experience with both of those modalities? I know a lot of people would be curious to hear about that, who are also struggling and trying to find the right modalities for their own healing. And there's so many different approaches that we're faced with. Sometimes it can feel like a jungle trying to figure out what kind of healing method to try. So I'd be really curious to hear about your experiences with family constellations and with Reiki first, and then we'll get to the karma.
Yes, absolutely. So what I realized during this year is that the Reiki as an energy healing, it is more like a quick fix, like taking an aspirin kind of way,
Yeah.
like when you feel down, when you feel anxious, when you feel certain ways, you go to a session and this pick you up, clearing out, and you feel better. And what is happening is clearing your chakras, balancing back your chakras. And why are your chakras blocked is because your negative emotions. And so basically, whenever you go into negative emotions because of your triggers, you want to go back and have another Reiki healing, right? So the Reiki felt like a relief. It felt like, managing my situations and that kind of thing. So why the Reiki master was also doing the family constellation therapy, because she knew that she needs to go deeper to heal really situations and people and conditions. And the family constellation therapy was also taught by my karma guru later on with karma yoga healing. So when I went to that retreat, I was like, wow, I already done this so many times. So it was so great to know that the two sides of the end of the bird is, and then with thousands years apart, they actually teaching it. So family constellation therapy is very profound, is very powerful. What it does is like healing ancestral trauma, basically, because many times ancestral trauma is what coming down through the lineage to you, and you don't understand like why I am treating my spouse this way, or why we are not in love anymore, or what's going on, although nothing wrong, but I'm just falling out of love, or we are just fighting more, all of these things. And it's coming from ancestral trauma.
Yeah.
And then in this family constellation therapy, we invite those souls, we invite those family members into the circle in our body, and then we actually interact as they are, as we are them, and feeling what they feel and express what they would express. So we give them the body to feel and to express, and they have a conversation, and then finally we guide them through the situation to accept and to love and to forgive, and then as soon as those souls in our lineage, like the ancestral souls, is basically back into love and forgiveness, it has a ripple effect. It was insane. Like within a couple of weeks, it wasn't instant. The funny thing was that when we did that healing, is like I went home, I was continuing with my life, and then suddenly, bang, it's like everything shifted like overnight within a couple of weeks, like literally, and it was like so profound. And so it's a very great work, family constellation therapy. I did it always face to face in a physical situation. I never done it online, and then I don't feel like it's a good idea to do it online. I felt it more safe, and then in a container, to handle with those spirits, being with those spirits. So so that's how I explain.
Yeah, it's such profound and such deep work. How this the patterns of trauma travel down the generation, and whatever remains unconscious is going to get expressed behaviorally. So So it's such a gift to be able to do that ancestral healing work and to correct those patterns at the root. If people want to do this ancestral healing, what are some ways that they can connect to their ancestors or to their own internalized versions of the ancestors to facilitate that healing? And does it matter whether it's an internalized version of the ancestors or if you really feel like you're connecting to something that's outside of you?
Yeah, so we are in oneness with
Yeah.
everything. So it's like outside, inside, I would say is
Yeah.
same. is
It's a mirror.
mostly like how
Mhm.
you believe in
Mhm.
strongly, like what is
Mhm.
happening. So the other thing is, like, I always recommend to do samadhi meditation before we stepping into the unconscious, the family unconscious or our own unconscious, basically, because the samadhi meditation makes it easier because it transcends you into theta
Mhm.
delta brain waves, and it's in a transcendental state is much easier to access those multidimensional existence of yours,
Mhm.
basically. Especially if you are not practiced, if you don't do this on a daily basis, then you need this help to transcend, be going deeper,
Mhm.
and then you can access those layers. And yeah, it's either you call it your own layers or is it out there in the super conscious, but basically it's with your soul family is called like family
Mhm.
unconscious. So you are connected with them on an unconscious level. And how do you know, like, how to heal this? Basically, if you already know some traumatic experiences, then you can basically say words
Mhm.
around that you are releasing and healing that from Akashic
Mhm.
records or from the past, present, and future. But if you don't know, I actually have a meditation in my meditation library where I go through all the possibilities what could be like a trauma. It's like a 1 hour
Okay.
meditation basically to release everything, and then that's how we heal
Mhm.
it. There are a couple of meditations what we use, especially healing the family unconscious and on a certain ways, and then one of them is similar, like it's like a shorted version of family
Mhm.
constellation therapy, shorted into like a meditation way to digest it easier and be able to do it from a recording. Basically, the connection is still happening. You still interact a bit with this source, but at a different
Mhm.
level.
Got it. Got it. That's so interesting. Yeah, I feel like there's so much to I have so much to ask on this topic. Um, So, okay, let's shift a little bit to the samadhi meditation because we're talking about deep unconscious healing and healing from some of these very deeply rooted trauma patterns that we may not be aware of. In fact, we know that a lot of times trauma, it happens non-verbally. It happens when people are too young to remember, or it's hidden and concealed, family secrets that are never brought to light. So it, we know that the unconscious, it is really, it's deeply rooted and expressed in the body. The body has the signal unconscious. And this goes way beyond the cognitive verbal layer. So you mentioned going into theta brainwave states, and this is a process that also happens in a Yoga Nidra practice, where in Yoga Nidra, we do enter those a prolonged alpha brainwave state, and then we move into theta, and then we can move into delta. And if you can stay awake during that whole time and stay aware and awake when you're in delta brainwave state, then you can really access a lot of really helpful information. And I'm really curious to hear more about the samadhi meditation. And I know we still have to talk about the karma yoga healing, so maybe that ties in some way. But we can also come back to it later on as well.
Yes, absolutely. You said it right that if you are able to stay awake in that delta and theta, then you can access those layers. That's the point here. With samadhi meditation is you activate your pineal gland, and when you activate your pineal gland, you start producing more of the hormones like melatonin, serotonin, oxytocin, and the growth hormone, and you also transcend. And this is the state like not many like talked about it. Like when we start meditating, most of the people, when they start meditating, they just want to quiet the monkey mind. They just think about it like, okay, let's stay quiet. Just let's observe my breathing. And that's where they are. But they force themselves kind of, to quiet the monkey mind when they have so many thoughts running around. When you do the samadhi, and it happens effortlessly, that when you transcend, it's basically, it's just becomes quiet. It's like when you're going underwater, like you're above the water, is noise, all the people is there on the beach, and then you go underwater, is quiet. It's the same thing, like your brain is going on crazy, and then when you transcend, it's just like stops everything, and it's just like, and that's when you are actually able to reach those layers and access the unconscious. And then you said, yes, there are some memories which we don't remember, or there are even some memories which we don't know if which is not even traumatic, or not even, I mean, it doesn't seem traumatic. It seems like an innocent memory, but because the person lived it through some negative emotions, it becomes trauma, basically, because then it gets triggered later with the same emotions in other situations. I had a client who had panic attacks, and then she had severe panic attacks, and then she was suffering from it for a year, but she was taking some medications first before she actually eventually stopped the medications and came to me. But at that point, she was already like crying, and then didn't want to socialize, and she was really in a bad place. So it turned out when we were doing the source memory healing and we entered those memories, one of the memory was just like she was 8 years old and sitting inside the living room with the grandparents, but outside was sunny and she wanted to go out to play, but the grandparents was inside watching TV and they didn't want to go out to play. So it was like she felt limited. She felt like unsupported. She felt like, she can't do what she wants. And then, so that was like boiling up. And then later when it was COVID, it's triggered because then she was limited, couldn't go outside, and, it triggered it. And then later after that, she moved to a different country to study, and then it got triggered again, probably because of the new environment, whatever happened there. So that's how it started, and it was an innocent afternoon with a sunny day, right? So you never know what there. And then and many times my clients got so surprised when we do the source memory healing and the unconscious mind is bringing these memories. They are so surprised, and they're telling me after the session, like, I never thought that would actually affect my current situation, or I wasn't even thinking about that thing for so long, or, it's like they think that the time heals. They think that if they don't have flashbacks, then it's gone completely. But it's not true, because until you get still triggered, there is still something there which is triggering it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just so wild to think about how any little thing has the potential of being encoded as traumatic and being carried through the years, and then showing up and getting triggered later on down the line in ways that might seem so disconnected from the original event, but are rooted in that event. I know a lot of parents worry about traumatizing their kids, and I work with a lot of new moms who just really are trying so hard to get it right and really worry about accidentally, harm or some kind of damage to their kids. And I'm curious what you have to say about that. It's inevitable that just existing and being human and going about your normal day-to-day life affect the people around you in negative ways. I mean, not meet their needs. And I'm curious how you think about that, and what might you say to parents who are worried about accidentally traumatized kids just by living ordinary life and making unintentional mistakes.
Yeah, that's the thing that you can't always be, stepping on eggshells. You can't walk on
Right.
eggshells all the time. That's one thing. But the best what you can do is really do the deep healing on yourself, because then you're not gonna get triggered. You're gonna be more resilient. So if you are more resilient and you're not getting triggered, you can keep your peace. You can stay peaceful even in a very triggering situation. And the other thing is that as you heal yourself, with the source memory healing, for example, if you heal yourself with the source memory healing, the trigger is going to stop. So what does it mean? Because we activate also the 8th chakra, not just the pineal gland, the 8th chakra opens up the karma vortex, and you also affecting like the other people in the soul family as well. So eventually you're going to see that the people around you is changing through your healing. So you're going to get less triggered. It happened to me the same. Like I had difficult times with my daughter. She was very stubborn and she was sometimes having certain reactions, which I didn't like. And at the very beginning of my healing journey, many years ago, basically I could be angry at her, like, why are you doing this? Why are you, behaving like this? Why are you not da 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 da? And then after a while, I was just said to myself, oh, I have to stop this. And then I just gonna be the person always smiling, always coming with a hug, and always being patient and calm. Whatever she does, doesn't matter what. And then I started to do that. And then and then now she's mirroring me back. She's much more calm. She's hugging me. She's smiling a lot. So she's completely transformed. I mean, it wasn't overnight. It took maybe a year, right? But it was literally in front of my eyes. She transformed from that wild animal into a very lovely, smiling, happy girl, just because I decided that I'm not going to be that person who's triggering her back. I'm going to be the person who's always peacefully standing strong, smiling, no matter what. And then she can see that.
Yeah. Well, I think, hearing that gives a lot of people hope that relationships can be repaired, and that even with parenting, working on ourselves, working on yourselves, we change one wheel in the machine and everything else starts changing as well, with trickle down effects. So, and trickling up effects as well to the ancestors.
I always say that if you are the one who's taking the responsibility in the whole family, that you're going to do the healing. You're going to heal your whole family, basically.
Yeah, that's just so powerful. And it is a big responsibility, sometimes I think like maybe that is what we're here on this earth for, to do this inner work on ourselves and, see where it takes us, clear out some of that generational patterning. So, going back to, let's circle back to the karma yoga, and I would love to hear your experience with the karma yoga. Karma yoga is the yoga of action, right? And I would love to hear your experience with that as a healing modality and how it complemented the family constellations and the Reiki.
So when we're talking about karma yoga healing, we shouldn't think about asanas. Okay. So there is nothing to do with asanas here. So it's mostly breathing and is breathing techniques, and actually activating certain energy centers and the pineal gland, and stepping into those energies, connecting with the supreme pure consciousness, connecting with the unconscious mind and the subconscious mind, and basically getting into mindfulness. Because what is karma? Karma is action, and if you are mindful and you practice karma yoga healing, you're going to see the consequences of your actions. So you know that what actions you're supposed to take not to get into, for example, karmic debts, right? Not creating more karmic debts in your life. So basically, it's about being mindful. And how you can be mindful is you control 3 things in life. You control your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Because your thoughts generating your emotions, and your emotions creating your actions most of the time, and your thoughts as well, obviously. So when you become mindful, you know that you're supposed to produce positive thoughts, and being in a positive thought pattern, like not having negative assumptions, not being in worry and fear, more trusting the divine, trusting the process, having beautiful positive assumptions and seeing your visions, for the future. So being in that kind of energy, and then that brings you a high vibration, because your emotions is going to be in bliss and joy and happiness, and that keeps you on a high vibration, and that's going to get you into the inspired actions, which is bringing you forward to your path, to your purpose, basically. So Karma Yoga Healing teaching this and how to achieve mindfulness. And how to achieve mindfulness is through releasing all of the traumas, which is actually keeping you on an emotional roller coaster and pushing you to take actions which you don't want, because those are coming just like a reaction, and then creating karmic debts. So what's happening with most of the people out there is like they are having negative thoughts, right? They are having negative assumptions. They are in a fear. They worry. They feel all kinds of negative things. That's going into anxiety, stress, depression, feeling all kinds of negative emotions. And then they take action on that. So they may be getting angry with other people. Maybe they shout, maybe they become violent, maybe they disrespect people, they lie, they steal, they scam, whatever. So what all of this is creating karmic debts. And not all the time you receive the results of your karmic debts, which means the negative returns of your karma. You're not going to experience it most of the time in this lifetime unless you are spiritual. So if you are a spiritual person, you are more connected with all of this multidimensional existence of yours, you see your karma much faster. So it's better to take good karma, right? It's better to actually create good karma, because then you see blessings after blessings. But if you create negative karma, it can hit you next day if you are a spiritual person. So you need to be more careful with your actions. If you are not a spiritual person, might you see your karma hitting you back next lifetime, right? And then also in this lifetime, how to deal with your own karmic patterns, because these are patterns, like you receiving your karmic patterns from past life, or this lifetime, you receiving ancestral karma as well. So the ancestors can put their karma on you. You can inherit karma from ancestors. And there is a way to clear that. There is a way to actually also prevent that, to talk to them and take it back is not mine kind of way. So there is a meditation for that. But what you can also do, again, being mindful, every time you have a choice, every time, whenever you are in a situation, even it's a pattern is coming back to you, you have a choice. Okay, what I'm going to decide here, where I'm going, left or right, because one of them is continuing your karmic pattern, but one of them is actually finishing the cycle, and you choose a better path for yourself. So just being absolutely conscious, mindful about your decisions, counting till 10, sleep on it, whatever you have to do, not getting into like making decisions from negative emotions, making decisions from the wrong place, but being really mindful. That's so important. And then you're going to see that your life turns into a lucky syndrome. You're going to feel like you are so lucky because, your emotional roller coaster smoothing out with the healing, and then with your karma, because you creating good actions, taking good actions, that's also smoothing out. And eventually you just feel.
Yes. So from what you're saying, there's a lot that stands out to me. First, let's just backtrack a little bit and just define what is a karmic debt. How would you explain a karmic debt? And maybe if you can give an example of a karmic debt, how what we do can come back to us, like if we make promises that we don't keep, for example. So maybe you have some examples, or how do you explain a karmic debt?
Yeah, so karmic debt is, so there is law of karma, and under law of karma, there are certain actions which create karmic debts. For example, lying. So if you lie to people, you are dishonest, you're creating a karmic debt. And then what is returned back to you is another lie from other people, obviously. It's like a mirror. You got back what you put in, right? So if you're experiencing that people lying to you, maybe it's happening to you because you lied to them, maybe in past lives, or in or to someone else, because it's not necessarily coming back from the same people. Of course, it could come from another way. The other thing which creating karmic debts is disrespect. So being disrespectful to parents, teachers, older people, that's also a karmic debt. Karmic debts is also being like angry, using harsh words and violent. That also a karmic debt. Also, if you are scamming, stealing, being in a bad companionship, that's also a karmic debt. Then also having intoxication. So basically taking drugs, over drinking alcohol, like, having addictions, which is ruining your physical body. That's karmic debts. And also sexual misconduct. What does it mean, sexual misconduct? Is if you are in a committed relationship and then there is another person in committed relationship, but you have a desire and you're thinking or taking action on that, that's a karmic debt. So let me say what else. They also say that if there is like a cross or like a misunderstanding or like hate or like some negative emotions related to your siblings or your relatives, is also karmic debts. You should always resolve situations with your siblings and family members. Basically, that's kind of a rule in karma. So you should always resolve these situations in family, at least, and to the point to forgive. You don't need to, like, if you have family members you feel like they are toxic, it doesn't mean you always need to be there around them and smile and then take everything what they do. It means setting boundaries, but in your heart forgive, and then just set boundaries and let go, not keep the grudges and explain or communicate like what's going on or whatever. So just make sure that it's like a bit is you cutting the cords, and then you are in a good term kind of energetically about the situation.
Makes sense.
And yes, these actions actually which you need to take care of, like, make sure that.
Yeah. Who decides what is a karmic debt? And like, for example, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, who decides,
So
right? I could like, for example, right, for some people, like eating meat, for some people, for example, eating animals, right, is not okay. That's a violent thing, and that's a karmic debt. And for some people, depending on their culture, their value system, that's okay. How would you conceptualize it? Does the person get to decide, I don't feel right about this intuitively, there's a part of me that doesn't feel right about this behavior, so therefore that's a karmic debt? Or is it something that, like, I might feel okay about this behavior, but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, poison is poison, even if I don't realize it?
So this laws or this karmic debt was created, like, it's coming from Shiva, and it's a 60,000 years old teachings. So basically, it's like when you are asking, like, who made Bible or who wrote the Bible, it's like similar thing. So karmic debts was coming from Shiva, like, okay, these are the actions, and this is like a law of the universe. It's one of the laws of the universe. So law of karma is the law of the universe, and then it was coming from Adiyogi Shiva. So basically that's where it originated. It's not what you decide on, like, what is my karmic debts or not. Eating meat, it wasn't there. I'm telling you. The karmic meat, no. Why they say it karmic debts? I don't think it's I tell you about the meat thing. I wrote a book actually, and this book is on the healer's journey.
Oh, okay.
It's coaching book for seniors. And in this book, actually, I wrote about eating meat because I used to be vegan. I used to be vegan for 3 years. And why I chose to be vegan is because I also learned that the meat is low vibrational, right? It's a low vibrational food because it's the animal, when it dies, it's feeling low vibration, feeling negative emotions, right? So that's stuck in the meat. So when you eat the meat, you take that low vibration energy. So while you are on a spiritual journey and you want to raise your frequency fast and you want to go into connecting with your higher self, connecting with the divine, connecting with spirit guides and all kinds of, higher dimensions, basically is slowing down the process when you eat meat. And then when we retreat or when we go to a spiritual retreat, we stop eating meat for that certain period of time. Right? But I highly recommend that you go back after the retreat, or you speed up your spiritual experience, but then you go back and eat meat because your body needs it. I mean, if you are fine not eating it and you're still extremely healthy, then I'm very happy for you. But for example, in my case, it wasn't like that because I did something wrong, or I don't know, but I was like deteriorated my health, not eating meat. So I had to come back and eat meat, and I feel amazing since then. But it's not actually affecting my spiritual journey anymore, because I got to the point that I can alchemize anything in my body. So it's like, even I take in low vibrational stuff, I can just, alchemize it. It doesn't bother my frequency. So it's, I think it's important at the beginning, when you are at the beginning of your spiritual journey and you want to reach those certain levels, and then, start to connect, that you take break of eating meat. When I was doing Shakram healing, because I also learned Shakram healing, I literally couldn't eat cooked food for 3 months.
Really?
I was eating raw 3 months, because I was so raised, my vibration was so high from the attunements to Shakram that I just couldn't take, the cooked meal either.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Your body knows what it needs, and it's almost like the body and the spiritual energies, they communicate in some kind of synchronization, and you know what you need. You can alchemize low frequency substance. If your body is set up for that, and those things if you are trying to raise your frequency. So I think that's a very well-rounded perspective, and I know that, like, in my culture, so I'm Jewish, and in my culture we have laws of kosher, which is also, it's giving it really, at the essence, it's giving an opportunity to elevate the things that you're eating to a higher frequency. And even the way that animals are handled is supposed to be with so much consideration, care, and compassion, and really minimizing any pain that they might experience. So when you're sharing that the low vibration really comes from the negative emotions, when we can minimize that from suffering, when we can minimize and treat the food that we're eating, or anything that we're engaging with respect and compassion, even if we're setting boundaries, even if it's not always so pleasant, then the vibrations might not be so affected. So that's interesting.
Yes.
Can you so I'm assuming most people don't know what Shakram healing is. And I actually don't know much about it either, to be honest. So can you share just a little bit about what is that and how does it work?
Yes. So Shakram healing is similar to Reiki. So it's using the source energy, and this with the hands. So it's coming out from the hands to heal people, and you can do distance or face-to-face healing. It also has signs as the Reiki, but Reiki has only 4 signs, while Shakram has many more. And Shakram healing was said that it's actually an ancient Egyptian healing technique, which was channeled back in the 70s by a lady who created this Shakram healing. So basically, it's a pretty new thing, but it's an ancient thing, you know what I'm saying? So so I was really called to do it, because after I was learning about karma yoga healing and I was activating my pineal gland, I had flashbacks of my past lives being in Egypt and being a healer in Egyptian temples. Wow. So I felt like I want to learn healing, and that's how I got into it. And I did the level 1, level 2 in Shakram healing. And what I realized that now when I'm doing energy healing sessions for people, I still tell them I'm sending you a Reiki, but basically, I'm already at Shakram as well. So which means is that my healings used to be 1 hour long, and now it's like 30 minutes long, because the Shakram healing is much more powerful. It's also using the sun as the source energy. And it's also, you connect with the source, with the earth as a second energy. So you come in from the Sirius sun, then it brings down to the earth and then to the palms. And that's how we heal
Yeah,
it.
that's so interesting. Um, wow, it's cool how you could blend so many different traditions and bring the ancient into the modern. And I believe that healing, we're not really healers. We're just containers. We are just the conduits for healing to happen. And I really believe that ultimately the healing, it's an energy that's brought down from the ultimate divine source consciousness. We could call it God. We can call it, divine source consciousness, spirit. And I really believe that the healing comes from that. And and can go through different pathways, through different sources to arrive and to do its work, but the person has to be receptive to it. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I do the healings, like the
Mhm.
Reiki healing or the Chakra healing, I'm not
Mhm.
thinking why I'm doing it. I'm just a
Yeah.
vessel, as you said, and the energy comes through me and is actually guiding my
Yeah.
hands. I'm not looking where it's just
Yeah.
floating, like above the body where it's to go. And then when I feel that the energy gone, then that's how I finish it
Yeah.
up. So I'm really just a vessel there, right? And then I shouldn't even act with my thoughts into the situation. I should really just allow it to happen through me, because as soon as I allow myself to became like consciously into the situation, then that's how you get drained during these healing sessions. You need to take yourself out and just allow it to happen
Yeah.
through you, right? And the other thing you mentioned, like everything is coming from source. Yes, even the angel healings, like when we invite Archangel Raphael to heal, even him using this source energy to heal you. So it's yes, it's coming all from the source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, if we could go back to the eighth chakra meditation, and talk about that. And it sounds like it's a very powerful meditation. We're activating the eighth chakra, the Yapini chakra, right? And um, most people are familiar with, well, some people are familiar with the seven chakras, but there's really actually a lot more chakras than that. The seven are just the main ones, and they're connected to smaller branches in the chakra system. And the eighth chakra it's a really important one. So can you share a little bit about the eighth chakra and how you activate it? What is your relationship to this chakra? What are some techniques that you can use, and how can it help you to activate it?
So basically,
Yeah.
quickly, I want to go back to the
Oh, okay.
seven chakras. So the seven chakras, why they are important? Because they are aligned with your gland system. So the seven chakras are completely aligned with your gland system. So when they get blocked, the first they're gonna affect your glands, which is the hormonal production, your chemicals get produced, and it's also affecting your
Mm-hmm.
emotions, right? You know that. So when we are in a certain emotional situation, like in negative emotions, then you're blocking those seven chakras basically, and then you affecting your gland system, the hormonal system production, and is bringing you even more negative emotions. So it's like a cycle. You get into this negative cycle. So when you are able to practice samadhi meditation, it's allowing you to come out of this cycle and being more in a positive mood, and being more like helping you to get more into gratitude and feeling like more in peace, instead of being in the rabbit hole too long. So what is happening with the eighth chakra? Eighth chakra is like 6 to 8 inches above your head, and is the chakra of your aura. And the eighth chakra is the doorway to your multidimensional existence, beside the pineal gland activation. Basically, when you activate the pineal gland, that's when you transcend, and that's when your third eyes also start opening, and you're gonna trust more the divine, and you're gonna have more like visions coming in, breadcrumbs of the universe, all of those things. But with the eighth chakra is which connects to your past lives,
Mm.
connects to your past, connects to your ancestors, your other happenings, even to your future, like in the Akashic records. So the eighth chakra is like more pivotal about this, and the karma vortex. And what does it mean, getting connected with the karma vortex? When we're doing source memory healing, is not like an energy healing, is not like affecting your body instantly. What is happening with the source memory healing, clearing those memories, you're rewriting the Akashic records. So that creates a new future in your life. But how it's going to happen to you is through other people as well, and through your thoughts patterns. So when you're opening the karma vortex, you allow that source is going to conspire to you the results, the solutions. So might the answer to your healing is someone comes in and give you support, or someone is showing you the solution for your issue, or suddenly what didn't work before, now it starts working, or suddenly, because when we're doing source memory healing, I'm not just dealing with people with physical or mental illness. We're dealing with all kinds of triggers, which can come from work, which can come from relationships, which can come from even a noisy neighbor. I'm not kidding. So when we diving deep into those memories, releasing it, then the person is, stop feeling those triggers. The person is going to be more resistant. But at the other side, the situation is going to unfold differently too, because we rewrote the past. So how is going to unfold differently? Because the people who's involved going to change their attitude or their behavior. So then it eventually resolves the situation. And that's why it has to connect with the karma vortex, with the eighth chakra, to stepping into the consciousness of everyone. And
Yeah, the super consciousness. Yeah, that's so cool. How do you get into the eighth chakra? And do you need to already have the pineal gland and the seventh chakra activated, or can you activate the eighth chakra separately as a separate doorway?
So how the Samadhi meditation, how we do it in the Samadhi meditation, we first actually spinning up all the chakras, all the 7 chakras first, and then we go into the 8th. So when we go into the 8th, we spin up the 8th, we bring in light from earth. So we start from the earth. So bring in light from the earth and then into the chakras, and going through all the chakras till the 8th. But then what happens is we start doing like a breathing between the root and the 8th, which is like you moving like the Kundalini energy, like you're bringing up something. So then through this breathing, you start activating the 8th. And then the 8 is going to be brighter and brighter. And then through that, you invoke from the 8, the light from the 8 into your pineal gland. And that's when you activate the pineal gland. So you start with the 8 and then you do the pineal gland.
That's so interesting, because it reminds me of there's a technique of Yoga Nidra that's called Prana Nidra, where you make a connection between the root chakra and the third eye chakra, the Agna chakra, and you breathe through the chakras in a special kind of way, and then you make that connection and you draw energy also from the earth, from the root chakra to the third eye. And then you use that light and that energy to send healing to whatever parts of your body or emotions are in need of attention and healing. And then you return that energy back to the source. So either to the root or to Manipura chakra, to the solar plexus, depending on where you're drawing it from. So when you're describing the 8th chakra and how you pull the light and you pull the energy from the earth, you send it and you make that connection between the 8th chakra and the rest of the entire array of chakras. It's a little bit similar, but it's like a bigger range than in the Prana Nidra technique.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I also want to add that when we're talking about chakras, I really appreciate how you're also talking about chakras in a scientific way, that they correspond to the glands, that they're not just chakras are not just they're not just like made up things. They're actual energetic centers. There is a physiological correspondences in the physical body. There's nerve endings that are concentrated around chakras. There's glands. There's a lot of things that are happening around these centers. They're not these random energetic centers that somebody just made up. So I really appreciate how you're bringing the physiology and the body into talking about the chakras as well. I'm curious with the eighth chakra meditation, how long does it take? Does it have a certain length to it? Is it usually longer? Is this something you can do in a short amount of time?
So the samadhi meditation is about 15 minutes, but I suggest to people, so the 15 minutes is the guided part to get into transcendental state. But when you are, for example, experiencing an illness, let's say you have some pain in your body, migraine, or anything going on in your body, if you reach that point to transcend, I highly recommend to stay in that state as long as you can, and because then the body start healing. I had this, I felt like I catch some cold and I'm having some bladder infection. I had that point, and then I even booked myself in with a doctor. But the evening I decided that I'm going to do this samadhi meditation. So I did the samadhi, and then before I went to bed, and then I actually transcend, and then I stayed in that state. I didn't come out of it, and then in the middle of the night, I even woke up and then I felt I'm still vibing, I still felt the vibration. Like, okay, let's go to sleep. So then I was like, till morning, I allowed myself to stay in that. I didn't bring myself out. So I stayed in that state the whole night. And in the morning, I woke up and I had 0 symptoms. So I canceled my doctor appointment. So basically, it takes 15 minutes about to get there. But how long you stay in depends how much, amazing things you want to happen to you, right? So, and then it's really also great for visualization, for manifestation, because if you are in that state and if you start visualizing your future, what you want to manifest is also you sending these more like on a faster mail to the universe, right? What is your wishes?
Yeah, that's really cool. Is this something that people need to learn with a facilitator, or is it something that people can just practice on their own without guide, do you need to listen to a guided audio? Do you need to learn this with a facilitator, or is it something that you can just have instructions and do on your own?
Yeah, it can happen both ways. I have on my YouTube playlist, I have the Samadhi meditation, and I also have 2 karmic debts release meditation there. So healing the intoxication and healing the anger. So if somebody's would like to try that, my YouTube channel is Magical Karma Priestess. And if you can't remember his name, then just go to my website, edithbirkis.com, and then you get the direct link to my YouTube. And it just go to playlist, and I have several meditations.
Yeah, and we'll put all of this in the show notes as well. As I've been listening to you, I definitely want to check out your meditations and try them out for myself. And maybe this is a good time as we begin to wind down to talk about what are your offerings, what are your services, where can people find you?
So what I really love to offer to people is my 30 days incubator. So if someone is suffering from PTSD, panic attacks, depression, I actually realize that my clients get from, feeling misery to smiling and planning their future happily in 1 month. And that's why I created this 30 days incubator, because it's really enough for them. Like even the person I talked about, the panic attacks lady, who had the panic attacks. So she also, in 30 days from crying every day, she recovered so great that she went back to school happily, and then she's fine since. So basically, I have this 30 days incubator, which contains 4 sessions with me, 2 hours source memory healing sessions. Also, I have the meditation library access for them with all the ancestral healing meditation we just talked about and all the karmic debts healing we just talked about. And also, I have a life transformation system course where I also teach people like what is going on actually around you, right, in your multidimensional existence, and how to make sure that mindfulness is getting into place. So subconscious reprogramming, all of that, that's my course about it. So you get access to all of these and lifetime access to the meditation library and to the course with the 1 month incubator, basically. So that's why I love to start working with people, starting with this incubator. And of course, after 1 month, if they want to stick around, there are also options for that. There is like a VIP 12 months possibility, or I also have a community. So if you want to try first my community out, I have a school community. So you go to school and you look for Release with Ease. And in this community, I have the meditation library, I have the life transformation system course, and you get 1 bonus session with me, a private session with me if you join that community. And there is also amazing people there who's already working with me for a year now. And then they just love being in this. We also have group sessions every week, and where they can, interact with each other. They can ask me questions, and we do healings there, and we do manifestations there. It's like a 90-minute session every week. So if you would love to join the community, that's also an option right now.
Awesome. Amazing. Thanks for sharing all that. And we'll definitely have all of that stuff in the show notes. So you guys can, so if this is speaking to you guys, you can definitely check it out and reach out to Edit. And then as we wrap up for today, I wanted to ask you 2 more questions. One is about your personal practice, and you've shared about this as well throughout our conversation a little bit. But would you be open to sharing about your personal meditation or spiritual kind of practice?
Yeah, so I usually do every morning my ancestral defect release meditation. It's a very special meditation. What it does is starts with the samadhi, but then it has an extra 15 minutes when basically I release all negative entities and spirits from my environment, because very often we feel stuck, or we feel like we are not ourselves, or we feel like we are kind of controlled by some energies, because these entities or these negative spirits, or even your ancestral spirits, is stuck on your aura. And you can get them anywhere. You're walking on the street, you're going to crowded places, you're going to hospitals or cemetery or places, they just stuck on you. So to do that cleansing, to always make sure that your aura is cleansed, and then you can move forward, in your day, and then empowered. And this also helping you to heal your soul family, because some of your ancestors stuck with you because they couldn't find light. So with this process, with this meditation, you help those souls and the other souls stuck on you to go to light, and then it also brings you blessings. So when I practice this meditation, I also realize that I am more lucky, I have more positive things happening in my life. So I just decided that from all of the meditation I love, basically this is which I really stick to me. Like I'm gonna do this like every day, and then it feels good. I love it because I know I'm also helping other spirits and myself at the same time. So I do the ancestral defect release. It's in my meditation library. And then after what I do intermittent fasting, which means I don't eat until 10 a.m. And then my last meal is around 6 p.m. And then after 6 p.m. I don't eat until next day 10 a.m. And this also helps energetically, it's a really good practice. It also helps to keep my body vital. And I eat 3 meals in a day, basically. And I also follow a very strict diet about not eating gluten. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat processed sugar. And then I don't eat dairy products. And I don't drink alcohol and caffeine. So if you are someone who's having anxiety, stress, depression, panic attacks, all of these things, I do not recommend actually to eat these things, because they are actually amplifying your symptoms. So already with a new diet, you can minimize your symptoms and become more resilient.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I feel like the topic of food and your energy and mood and mental health, that was like a whole nother episode. um, so thank you so much for sharing. It sounds like you found such amazing recharging meditation that you do that really works for you. And, as I've been talking with you, you certainly have a very wonderful energy about you. And I know that like I feel it. And yeah, like the healing, it shines through, and you just have this beautiful glowy radiance about you and a lot of wisdom. So I'm so grateful to have this conversation. And then finally, I wanted to ask you about if there's any final takeaways or message that you would like the audience to hear, that you would like to share with people, especially like people who might be struggling or going through hard times. What would you like to say to them?
Yeah, so we are actually programmed to take away the responsibility of our healings. We are programmed to go to a doctor or ask help from somewhere else, but we are in control. So we need to understand that your mindset and your power is like you can control your body. You can control situations, yourself, basically. You need to focus on what you can control, and this yourself, your thoughts, your reactions, your situations. So if you are in a certain energy, you feel in a certain way, you can actually even talk to your body and tell to your body that please start producing the necessary hormones to feel good about myself, or start healing yourself, or just talk to your body, just get into the situation that feel yourself in power. Because I need to tell you the truth, this is an illusion. My daughter sometimes freaks out and she said, don't tell me that. It scares me. But this is an illusion, guys. This whole life is an illusion. So we are in power. Your mind is a very powerful thing, and you can mold reality. You can actually create your reality. And by that, you can heal yourself through your mind. We can call it placebo effect. You can call it however you want it, but you have the control. And most of the people, when they're freaking out, when they have panic attacks, when they are depressed, they feel they are not in control. They feel like, oh, what is happening to me? Why is it happening to me? They losing control, and that's why they're freaking out. You need to take back the control, and you say, yes, I am in power, and I'm going to stop this. And it has to stop. And everything is temporary. Even though I recommend you, okay, accept your situations right now, because acceptance is like a neutral state. If you are not accepting it, then you probably fighting against it. Probably you have some negative emotions around it. You are angry about your situations. You are sad, or, I used to have, like, when I had a virus infection, I was angry, like, why I'm having this virus infection? I can't do my stuff, I can't do work. I was like, felt guilty and whatever. But you shouldn't do that, because then you still blocking your chakras even more, being in that negative mindset. So when you're getting into a situation of having some sort of discomfort or illnesses, then accept the situation first, then tune into your body and start talking to it and start accepting that this is temporary. I'm getting out of it and I have the power. And then start channeling. You are in a space, in a resting space. In resting space, you can start channeling. What is my best solution? What should I do now? And listen, because it's coming. It's going to come from your spirit guides, or you can call upon angels and just channel, like, what should I do now? And this coming, if you rest, you can listen.
That is spot on. And yes, that just landed so well on me. Especially, this is what Yoga Nidra and other practices are all about, other mindful practices are all about, especially Yoga Nidra, where you're called to really take responsibility for your own internal experience and get the training and the tools during the Yoga Nidra process to learn about how your body and mind interact and to shape your own experience. you're laying down and you're listening to the facilitator, nothing outside of you is changing. It's the same room, same temperature, right? Everything's the same. But on the inside, so much change can be happening. And what's causing that? It's only you. And if you can do that during a Yoga Nidra practice or during a samadhi meditation practice or a different mindfulness practice, then you can do that during daily life outside of those practices as well. So thank you so much, Edith. What a beautiful and empowering message to end with. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And it's been such a fun conversation. I've learned so much from you and just so appreciated your wisdom and your beautiful energy. And would love to have you back on at any time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruthie.